Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today we have Ridhi here with us, who's recently been placed at BorgWarner as a part of her campus placements at VIT. She is here to share her interview experience with us. So before we talk to Ridhi, let's look at the eligibility criteria. So all BTech students in ECE and EEE and all MTech students with CAD/CAM, mechatronics, manufacturing, mechanical with CPS and automotive engineering with a CGP of 6.5 or 65% in 10th and 12th and pursuing degree, and also in undergrad if the student is in postgrad with no standing careers were eligible for this role. So now let's go ahead and talk to Ridhi. Hi Ridhi, firstly welcome to my
Hi,
channel and
thank
congratulations
you.
on your placement.
Thank you.
So would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure, yeah. So, hey everyone, my name is Ridhi and I'm a fourth year engineering student from VIT Chennai. I'm currently pursuing electronics and communication engineering. I got placed in BorgWarner, which is an American automotive supply company, in the mid of September. What BorgWarner does is mainly related to the space of EV, automotive trains, and making clean and efficient fuel technologies. And they have been one of the topmost automotive suppliers in the world, one of the topmost 25 actually suppliers in the world. And yeah, that's pretty much about me and the company.
Okay, okay. Thank you for introducing yourself. And you can now tell us about the placement process, how many rounds were there, and what they comprised of.
Yeah, sure. So first, the eligibility criteria was for only circuit branches,
Okay.
for ECE, EEE, and two other branches. I'm not really sure if it was production engineering and one more.
Okay.
But mainly EEE and ECE were the focus.
Hmm.
So I think they were focusing a lot on embedded C, microcontrollers and microprocessors. That's what they were looking for. Those skills were the main focus.
Okay.
So we had a test first, an online written test, which was conducted on Hire Pro.
Okay.
It had about, I think, 3 sections. There was English, aptitude, logical reason in one. There were about 20 questions like that. And then, according to the branch, there were a couple of technical questions.
Okay.
So, since I'm from ECE, I had about 20 to 25 ECE based questions from topics like VLSI, signal processing, digital logic design, and all of these topics.
Right.
And after that, there were 2 simple coding questions.
Okay.
Now, the catch here is that you have to code them only in C, because
Okay.
that's what the company was looking for. So we couldn't change the language to Python, Java, C++, or anything. So they were pretty simple questions based on arrays and all. So all my test cases had passed and the test was fine. And after that, we received the shortlist for the technical round.
Okay.
And the technical interview was, I think, about 4 or 5 days after the shortlist.
Okay.
And it lasted for about 40 to 45 minutes. That also went fine.
Okay.
So the interviewer first asked me to talk about myself, give my introduction, which was done. And after that, he had asked me if I was comfortable in answering EC questions in the first place. I said, obviously, yes, no problem. And so I had mainly listed 2 projects on my resume, 2 projects that I was very comfortable with.
Okay.
And both were EC related projects only. There was no embedded system project. I think they would have preferred that more.
Okay.
But I had one digital signal processing project
Okay.
and one analog electronic circuits project.
Okay.
So he had asked me about my DSP project. And he told me to explain it completely in whatever way I wanted. And I explained the whole thing. Then he opened a whiteboard and he started drawing some signals and asking me, if I apply this particular transform on this signal, what would be the output? What do you think will be the output graph? So I had included some keywords like Fourier transform, finite impulse response, infinite impulse response. So he had asked me basic questions on that, like
Okay.
what would be the Fourier transform of a sine wave, what would be the Fourier transform of a cos wave, such questions. So this was very, very basic. Any ECE student is supposed to know the answers to these questions. Then after that, he had asked me a couple of rapid fire questions. Very, very, very easy ones. Like some were basically, if I have 2 resistors of 4 ohms each and I connect them in series, what would be the output resistance? So he wanted to see how quick
Quickly.
and on the field thinking,
Right.
yeah, there was. And if I connect the same two resistors in parallel, what will be the output? If I replace them, the value is the same, but now the capacitors in series, what will be the output capacitance? If I put them in parallel, what is the output capacitance? And then he had asked me what is an amplifier, what is a rectifier, how does the AC to DC to AC conversion maybe happen, all sorts of such questions. Then he asked me what are the components of a phone battery charger and all of that. So these were the rapid fire questions. And once this was done, he had asked me, so in my DSP project I had used MATLAB. So he asked me how comfortable I am with MATLAB, if I remember any commands, because this project was from 2 years back. So he asked me how much I remember and how comfortable I am with it. After that, so this interview was comprised basically of electronics questions and computer science questions. So now he moved on to the CS part of it. And he asked me what language I'm most comfortable with. And I said C++ because that's the main language I use. So again, he asked me a couple of simple questions like what is inheritance, what are the types of inheritance, what is polymorphism, how would you implement that in a class, object, whatever. And then he had opened the code editor.
Okay.
And he had asked me to write 2 simple programs. One was how do you arrange 5 numbers in ascending and descending
Okay.
order. And the other one was if you had to swap 2 numbers using the temp variable and without using the temp variable.
Okay.
So again, basically, even if he was expecting, even if you did not know how to code it, even the algorithm or the pseudocode would do. He just wanted to see how the thinking was working.
Okay.
That was it. And towards the end, he had asked me what my goal is. Do I want to be more on the electronic side, or do I want to be more on the CS side? He asked what I do about the company. So I told all of that. And yeah, then it ended, and we were just waiting for the next round. I think within a week or so, we got the intimation for the management round.
Okay.
So the management round went for about 25 to 30 minutes. And it was not all managerial questions. It was also very, very technical.
Okay.
So she asked me to introduce herself, and then she introduced herself. She talked about the company a little bit so that I know what she's expecting. And again, she asked me to explain one of my big main projects. Again, I went for the DSP project. That was actually about the electrocardiography and how we denoise an ECE signal using some filters.
Okay.
We use Gaussian filter, smoothing filters, spatial filtering. So I'd explained all of that. This time she asked me to explain it very pictorially. Like, she didn't want a verbal explanation. She wanted me to draw everything, how the filter works, what are the peak trough points that are considered. She wanted me to explain all of that. So I did that.
Okay.
And she asked me a couple of questions like what is sampling frequency and what would be the amplitude of the signal if this filter is applied, all of those things. And she asked me what is my contribution in the project, how many members worked on this project, how long it took. It's just to understand my management skills there. After that, so she again asked me how comfortable are you with MATLAB and coding. I said I'm comfortable 7 on 10 because now I don't have touch with it really. And after that, I don't remember all the questions that she asked, but she asked me about some logical shift operator.
Okay.
Right, and she asked me if I'm comfortable with, like, if I know anything about embedded systems, and I said the definition that I know. And she asked me if I'd taken a course on embedded systems previously in college. I said no, because it was an elective at our time, so we didn't really take it as a compulsory course. So she asked me, would you be willing to learn embedded C? And I said absolutely, I'm keen to learn on any software that you give us, so it's okay. So then she said, okay, then that's pretty much it. Thanks for your time. We'll let you know the results later. So after that, I think within 7 to 8 days, the shortlist had come out, and that it was there that I got selected. That was very happy.
Nice. Okay. Thanks for sharing your experience, and congrats once again.
Thank you.
So, do you have any suggestions that are specific for a core company or anything in general that you've learned through the placement process?
Right, okay. So I feel like specifically talking about ECE students, we're also competing with our own ECE batch students and with CS students if we want to get into an IT company.
Right.
I would say if you're really passionate about IT, coding, SQL, DBMS, all of these things, then yes, go ahead and work on those things. But if at heart you're really an ECE student, like you really love core and you want to get into a core company, then this is one of the best companies that you could think of, because I've researched a lot about this company, the learning curve, and everything is just amazing. Flexible work hours, everything's really really good.
Right.
While applying and while preparing for the placement process, I would say for this company specifically, you would want to strengthen concepts about microcontrollers, microprocessors, maybe some concepts of SDLC, software development, cycle that, agile, scrum. Maybe if you know certain concepts of these, it should be fine. Your basic ECE concept should be very, very strong, because anything can be asked. It's not like just because just because BorgWarner is based on embedded C, it doesn't mean they can't ask you anything about digital logic design or
Right.
PLSI. They might ask you anything because you've studied the course for 4 years.
Right.
So I would say just focus on these projects, learn C programming. The syntax might be a little different from any of the other languages but focus on C programming more. And in the interview, just be confident. If you don't know anything, just accept it that you don't know at that point and move on, instead of trying to give a wrong answer and
Right.
giving a wrong impression to the interviewer.
Right.
So that's it. Be confident and work your way through with smart work, and it should be fine.
Okay. Thanks again for sharing the experience and for the suggestions.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks for having me, Jishnu.